Hey everyone! Today I'm going to beat the 200cc staff ghosts in the 48 base levels of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A bit about me. I've collected all the 3-star gold cups but do not play online. I relied on my own ingenuity during this challenge and did not research world record strategies or shortcuts. I used Golden Mario and the all gold setup as a starting point and decided to only change my setup if I needed to, although I didn't have a good feel of what characters and karts would perform best on each track anyway. Alright, let's hop into the first level, Mario Kart Stadium. It was looking like I was going to beat this level on one of my first tries. Somehow I lost, even though it looks like I pulled ahead in the final moment. This would be my closest defeat of the entire challenge, 4 thousandths of a second. This was shortly after, and it was another defeat that was nearly just as close. This time, I got it, and I moved on to the rest of the Mushroom Cup. This cup was pretty unremarkable and served as a gentle introduction to the challenge. Each course took 10 minutes or so to clear. Swamp Ruins was particularly forgiving, with me even being able to survive this disastrous stretch on my second lap. Now in the Flower Cup, I was mostly getting more of the same. Each level would take some practice to get the turns and angles down, and then I would beat the ghost without too much struggle. Things took a turn for the worse when I reached the cup's final level, Shy Guy Falls. This ghost is noticeably more optimized than the previous ghosts, and trying to keep up with it through the course's many sharp twists and turns led to countless crashes and restarts. But that's not the worst part. The worst part, by far, is this finicky shortcut right near the end of the track. I could not find a consistent setup for it, and all too often, I would boost unfavorably off the terrain below me and go careening into the chasm below. Having to hit this shortcut 3 times in a row really limited my number of attempts that went the distance. And to top it off, the ghost has a really strong final lap, so it's easy to lose even when you enter the final lap in the lead. It took me over an hour and a half to finally get past this ghost. Now in the Star Cup, the difficulty level dropped back to normal. On Sunshine Airport, I had to use my mushroom early after driving into the grass on the final lap, but I was able to recover and hold on. Mount Wario was the easiest ghost yet, and only took a few tries. My second lap included multiple wall hits and the slowdown in the snow, and I crashed off the wall before the finish line, but it was still fast enough to win. Now in the Special Cup, the difficulty was ramping up. Cloudtop Cruise went down without much trouble, but Bone Dry Dunes, with its sharp, unforgiving turns, took over half an hour. When I beat this ghost, however, I did it by nearly 4 seconds, so it's easily beatable if you have a strong race. Bowser's Castle was the next big obstacle in the challenge. The track is full of turns that are tricky to take with an optimal line. One of the hardest things about this track, however, is its moving elements. From the fireballs, to the ball and chain, to Bowser's fists, to the boulders, these elements will be in different positions based on the exact speed of your race so far, meaning it can take improvisation to dodge them. The ghost is also quite optimized with a killer first lap, which can make it feel like you're always racing from behind. After an hour of attempts, I had a race where I was trailing by over a second going into the second lap, but had pulled even going into the final lap. This Rainbow Road is perhaps my most hated level in the game. The track can be a nightmare to stay on, especially this turn near the beginning. I spent a while hunting for shortcuts on this one, and although it feels like a big one as possible, I wasn't finding it, so I raced the ghost without shortcuts. After nearly half an hour, I had an attempt where I was in good shape, but I drifted too early here, which forced me to use my final mushroom on the second lap. I was able to hang on for the victory anyway. On Yoshi's Circuit, I found this sweet double shortcut, which made the race pretty easy to win as long as I was solid on the rest of the track. Excite Bike Arena was one of the easiest tracks. I won by over 2.5 seconds on my third attempt, despite still having much room for improvement in the race. Finishing off the Egg Cup, both Dragon Driftway and Mute City were tough ghosts that didn't leave much room for error. They took me about half an hour each to get past. Baby Park was a breeze, and has the distinction of being the only track in the challenge that I cleared first try. Cheeseland wasn't bad either. I wasn't sure if I was using my mushrooms in the optimal spot, but it didn't matter. With a couple second lead in the final lap on Wildwoods, I was cruising to an easy victory. That was a train wreck. This time I didn't have as big of a lead, but I didn't need it. On Animal Crossing, I entered the final lap with a commanding 3-second lead. I tried my hardest to lose, but despite my best efforts, I failed. Moo Moo Meadows was pretty straightforward, and after a bit of practice, I was ready to win. Turns out my ugliest finish was the winner. Mario Circuit is where the difficulty jumped way back up for me. This unassuming track looks harmless, but its ghost is super optimized, with its strongest lap coming last. Throughout all my attempts, I struggled mightily to simply keep up with the ghost, no matter how well I felt I was executing the turns. Although I knew coins sped me up, this is where they really started feeling critical. It seemed my only hope of keeping up was to collect a whole lot of coins on the first lap. It occurred to me that my all-gold setup may not be well suited to this particular race, and I was considering changing it up for the first time in the challenge. A sense of despair set in as 1 hour of attempts passed by, and just then, I reached the final lap, clinging to a modest lead. I moved on to Cheep Cheep Beach, and quickly found out that I wouldn't be getting any sort of break. This was another brutal ghost, and placing it back to back with Mario Circuit was a cruel prank pulled by Nintendo staff. Like Mario Circuit, the track is unassuming, but the ghost is highly optimized, and so hard to keep up with. It took nearly an hour of attempts until I finished just the first lap holding a lead. What amazes me though, and this isn't unique to me, is the human ability to incrementally improve by tiny amounts through practice. Without any conscious change in my approach, my lines must have gotten a little more optimal and my turns slightly sharper, as over time, I was better able to keep up with the ghost until I finally broke through. Toad's Turnpike provided some much-needed relief on the difficulty curve. The challenge progressed smoothly for a while, and it would be some time before I encountered another track that gave me serious trouble. Donut Plains 3 wasn't super hard, but I did have a couple narrow defeats. Royal Raceway joins the Easy Club. I had a nearly 5-second victory, my widest of the entire challenge. In DK Jungle, I took an over 2-second lead into the final lap, but promptly ruined the attempt with this crash. Well, maybe it wasn't ruined after all. The entire Leaf Cup was pretty unremarkable, with no ghosts that posed a serious challenge. On TikTok Clock, I learned how quickly a good run can turn bad when you clip the clock hand at the end of the final lap. Here I lose time by hitting the Mario Kart arch. And this time I steer clear of the clock hand for the win. Grumble Volcano doesn't have the most optimized ghost, but I do find the steering on this track to be quite tricky, and it took some time to find a quick route. N64 Rainbow Road was firmly on the easy side, and I got through it on my third try. I may have narrowly lost to the Wario's Goldmine Ghost on one of my first tries, but this track was also in the easy camp. Despite having never attempted the shortcut before, I nearly beat the Ice Ice Outpost Ghost on my first try. Turns out that was lucky, as I went on to struggle with consistently landing the shortcut, but I pulled through 15 minutes later. Despite my attempt being littered with mistakes, I got through Hyrule Circuit with relative ease as well. The last 17 levels since Mario Circuit and Cheep Cheep Beach had all went down pretty easily. The memory of ripping my hair out in frustration was becoming more and more distant. Was this just variance in the difficulty of staff ghosts? Or was I simply getting better at the game as the challenge progressed? Well, with only the Bell Cup remaining, I took on its first level, Neo Bowser City. Here, the difficulty jumped back up, and it was clear I had some more hurdles to complete before the challenge would be over. Infuriatingly sharp turns and tight angles, combined with a ghost that felt impossible to catch, made me stall out on this track for about 45 minutes. But like before, marginal improvements through repetition eventually narrowed the gap. Next was Ribbon Road, and turns out this track also places higher on the difficulty scale. The track is tough in that it's dynamic. The flowing ripples of the ribbon create slight differences each time around. The ghost is also quite optimized without any obvious mistakes to capitalize on. This led to more than one close finish with me on the losing side. It took about 45 minutes of attempts to reach this run where I entered the final lap with a narrow lead. Super Bell Subway was a return to normalcy for difficulty, and in no time I had breezed through it. This meant a single track remained in this challenge, Big Blue. Big Blue is a tough track with a highly optimized ghost. This one may have been competing for the hardest ghost in the challenge, except for one thing. There exists an obvious shortcut here in the middle of the track that the ghost doesn't take. This would give me some buffer room, and for better or worse, avoid me having to perfect this track too much. Even given the shortcut though, this track still took about 40 minutes for me to clear, which places it firmly in the top 10 most difficult tracks based on my experience. I suffered multiple close defeats, such as this one, where I crash into the wall and accidentally pause the game. Here is a defeat so close you can't even see the ghost cross the finish line. I really thought I had it that time. Eventually, I pulled it off, despite hitting some walls in the final lap. I love Big Blue, so enjoy this final track in its entirety. So where does beating the 200cc staff ghosts rank on the completely objective Summit Challenge scale? It ranks as a 5 out of 10, a healthy challenge to undertake. On average, each ghost took me 20 minutes to beat. A handful of the hardest tracks make me want to pull it up to a 6 or a 7, but there are enough easier tracks that it balances out to a 5. Well, that's it for this challenge. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. If you'd like to see a similar video for the Booster Course Pass tracks, or have other suggestions for video game content you'd like to see, drop me a comment below and let me know. Bye for now.